Winter night. Becchi, northern Italy, 1824. A rustic shack adapted for housing. Inside, on straw serving as a bed, a 9-year-old boy sleeps. John Bosco, orphaned of his father at age 2, raised by an illiterate but wise mother. The cold cuts, the wind howls, and then the dream begins. John sees himself surrounded by boys his age, blaspheming, fighting, saying swear words that hurt the ears. He tries to stop, he shouts, nothing works, he turns to punches, blows, blood. The fight spreads, and then a light, bright as the sun. A man appears, he wears a white cloak, beside him a radiant lady. The man speaks, and the voice echoes like soft thunder. Not with blows, but with gentleness and charity, shall you win over these friends of yours. John looks around. The boys transform. Ferocious wolves emerge where children had been, and then before his eyes, the wolves become lambs, meek, peaceful. The lady approaches. Make yourself humble, strong, and robust. In time you will understand everything. Flash forward. Years later. Fire basket with 20 loaves of bread. 400 hungry boys waiting. Don Bosco blesses, he distributes, everyone eats until they are full. And when it finishes, 20 loaves still remain in the basket. Untouched, multiplied, impossible. This is the story of St. John Bosco, the priest who saw the future and transformed wolves into lambs. But to understand how a poor boy saw the future, we need to go back to the beginning. August 16th, 1815. Becchi, Piedmont, an agricultural region of northern Italy. John Melchior Bosco is born, a family of poor peasants. Father, Francesco Bosco. Mother, Margaret Occhiena. 2 older brothers, Antonio and Giuseppe. Life is hard. Hunger, arduous work. Napoleonic wars left a trail of devastation. And then the tragedy. May 11th, 1817. Francesco dies of pneumonia. John is 2 years old. Margaret is widowed with 3 children. 0 resources. Poverty that was already difficult becomes extreme. They move to an even simpler shack. But Margaret has something money cannot buy. Wisdom. Faith, love. She teaches John to pray, to trust in God, to see Christ in the poor. The boy grows up helping in the field. Small hands planting, harvesting, calloused before their time. But John has a lively intelligence, a surprising memory. He wants to study. Antonio, the older brother, despises the idea. You are a farmer like us. Studying does not fill the stomach. Conflicts intensify. Daily fights. Until Margaret makes a painful decision. John is 12 years old. She finds a job for him as a farmhand at Louis Moglia's farm. The boy leaves home alone, but he takes the dream with him. And something more. Skills learned from observing circus performers, juggler, magician, acrobat. On Sundays, John gathers boys from the farm. He performs tricks, applause, laughter. And then, when everyone is attentive, he tells stories of Jesus. Catechesis disguised as entertainment. Father Colosso, chaplain of Murialdo, notices the talent. He gives Latin lessons to the boy, but he dies suddenly. John cries. It seems like the end. But the dream does not die. He works as a shoemaker, blacksmith, carpenter, tailor. When he finds time, he studies. He memorizes. He learns. Sometimes he begs to pay for his lessons. Sweat, hunger, cold, persistence. And at home, Margaret advises him. One day, John declares that he wants to be a priest. She looks firmly into his eyes. If you want to be a priest to be rich, I will not visit you, because I was born in poverty and want to die in it. The phrase leaves a mark. John never forgets. At age 20 in 1835, he enters the seminary of Chieri. Help from benefactors makes it possible. 6 years of formation. St. Joseph Cafasso, a holy priest, becomes his spiritual advisor. Cafasso takes John to accompany those condemned to death. Prisons, young people on the gallows, last moments. John sees and understands. Better to prevent than to cure. June 5th, 1841. John Bosco, 26 years old, is ordained a priest. He chooses a motto that will be his life. Give me souls and take the rest. And then something extraordinary happens. December 8th, 1841. Turin, sacristy of the Church of St. Francis of Assisi. Don Bosco, newly ordained, prepares to celebrate Mass. Our sacristan tries to expel a ragged young man. Don Bosco intervenes. Let him stay. The young man approaches. 16 years old. Orphan, name Bartholomew Gorelli. He does not know how to read. He has no family. He works where he can. He sleeps where he can. Don Bosco smiles. Do you know how to pray? Bartholomew shakes his head. Then let us begin. It all starts with a Hail Mary. The following Sunday, Bartholomew returns. He brings a friend, then another and another. Word spreads. A priest who does not expel dirty boys, who teaches, who plays, who loves. By March 1846, 400 boys already frequent what Don Bosco calls the oratory. They need space. April 12th of that year, they obtain a permanent headquarters, a property of Francisco Pignardi in the neighborhood of Valdocco. And then something unexpected. Mama Margaret, already elderly, leaves the countryside. She comes to Turin. She joins her son's mission. The boys call her Mother Margaret. She cooks, she mends clothes, she hugs. For many orphans, she is the first mother they know. Don Bosco develops a method. He observes, he experiments. He discovers that young people do not need blows. They need three things: reason, religion, and amorevolezza, an Italian word meaning educational love, firm tenderness, constant presence. The preventive system is born. To prevent, not to punish, to love, not to hit, to accompany, not to abandon. But something more happens. The dreams return. They are not ordinary dreams. Don Bosco sees things, he knows things, he foresees things. A student falls ill. Don Bosco dreams that he will die in 3 days. It happens. Another student has vocational doubts. Don Bosco dreams and sees his future. He will be a missionary. Years later it happens. Pope Pius IX hears about it. He sends for Don Bosco. Write everything down, each dream, each detail, for the good of the congregation and the faithful. 1844. Second Sunday of October. Don Bosco dreams that he sees a magnificent basilica. Inside a white banner, Hic domus mea, inde gloria mea. This is my house, from here my glory shall go forth. Our Lady appears. You will understand everything when you see with your material eyes what you now see with the eyes of the mind. 19 years later, the basilica will be built, exactly as in the dream. Another dream, South America. Don Bosco has never been there. But he sees, between the parallels 15 and 20 of the southern hemisphere, a lake, a long and wide inlet, mountains, clear voice. When they come to dig the hidden mines in the middle of these mountains, the promised land will appear here, flowing with milk and honey. It will be an incomparable wealth. 20th century, April 21st, 1960, Brasilia is founded, between the parallels 15 and 20, near a lake, Paranoa. The dream was fulfilled. 153 dreams will be documented in the biographical memoirs. Some think Don Bosco is crazy, others that he has a fertile imagination, but the dreams are fulfilled one by one relentlessly, and the work grows. 1859, Pope Pius IX approves the founding of the Society of St. Francis de Sales, the Salesians. 17 young people are the first members. 1 priest, 15 seminarians, 1 student. The motto: to educate and evangelize youth, to form honest citizens and good Christians. Night schools for those who work in factories by day, tailoring workshops, bookbinding, woodworking, printing, mechanics. The boys learn professions, they gain dignity. 1872. Don Bosco realizes the girls also need this. Along with St. Mary Domenica Mazzarello, he founds the Institute of the Daughters of Mary Help of Christians, education for young females. 1876. To involve lay people, men and women, he founds the Salesian Cooperators. The Salesian family expands. 1875. Launch of the Salesian Bulletin. It will start in Italian, but soon it will be translated. Various languages, various countries. The message spreads November 11th of that year. First missionary expedition. Destination: Patagonia, southern Argentina. Inhospitable land, native peoples. The Salesians go. They bring education. They bring Christ. They bring love. But it does not stop there. The impossible was just beginning. Valdocco. An ordinary day that would become legend. Hundreds of boys wait for lunch. The person in charge of the kitchen looks for Don Bosco. Pale face. "Father, there is no bread. The baker will not send any if we do not pay what we owe." Don Bosco takes a basket. Inside 20 loaves of bread. Only that. 400 hungry boys, 20 loaves, impossible. He smiles. Mary Help of Christians will provide. He blesses the basket. He begins to distribute 1 loaf, 2, 5, 10. The boys receive, they eat 20, 30, 50. The basket does not empty. 100, 200, 300, everyone eats until they are full. Don Bosco looks at the basket. 20 loaves remain. Untouched, as if nothing had been removed. Witnesses present document it. Another day during Mass, Don Bosco is going to distribute communion. He notices, consecrated hosts are few, very few, but he begins, 1, 2, 5, 10. The sacred particles multiply in his hands. Everyone receives communion. Father Garone, present, testifies, I saw it with my own eyes. And at the elevation, Don Bosco's face illuminated the whole room. An air of paradise. A doctor from Turin looks for Don Bosco. A cultured man, skeptical, epileptic, frequent crises. Medicine does not solve it. He enters the office. I am a materialist. I do not believe in God or the Virgin Mary. I do not believe in miracles, nor in prayer either. Silence. Don Bosco smiles. You are not totally devoid of faith. After all, you came here hoping for a cure. Something awakens in the doctor. Don Bosco kneels. The doctor, without knowing why, kneels too. He makes the sign of the cross. Tears. Confession. Decades of atheism crumble. In the end, the doctor feels joy never before experienced. The crises cease. They never return. Carlos, a young man from the oratory, falls seriously ill. He worsens quickly. When Don Bosco returns from a trip, they inform him he died many hours ago. The body is already prepared. Don Bosco goes to the mortuary chamber. The cadaver aligned, cold, pale, glassy eyes. Leave me alone. The door closes. Don Bosco kneels. He prays. He blesses. He calls out twice, May Carlos get up. The young man unrolls the sheet with his hands. He opens his eyes. The body remains cold, but he is alive. He asks for confession. He spends 2 hours talking to Don Bosco. He tells what he saw. Don Bosco saved me from hell. Don Bosco asks, do you want to go up to heaven or stay with us? Carlos responds, I wish to go to heaven. Don Bosco smiles, I will see you in paradise. Carlos closes his eyes. He goes back to sleep in the Lord. Her paralyzed woman, after years of suffering, seeks Don Bosco. He says, pray 3 Hail Marys with me to the Virgin Help of Christians. They pray. At the end of the 3rd, without help, the woman gets up. Pains cease. Don Bosco takes the crutches, puts them on his shoulders, smiling, Go, my good woman, and always love Mary Help of Christians. And then comes the impossible project, 1863. 19 years after the dream. Don Bosco decides, build the basilica he saw in the vision. Location, where the holy martyrs Aventor, Saluta, and Octavius were martyred in the 4th century. Valdocco. But there is a problem. Zero money, literally. The contractor asks, how will I pay the workers? Don Bosco, Mary Help of Christians will provide. He begins with 8 cents. Ridiculous, impossible, but the works begin. And then inexplicable things happen. Donations arrive from strangers. People cured by the intercession of Mary send offerings. Small amounts, large amounts. The contractor testifies, the Church of Mary Help of Christians was paid for down to the last cent. Don Bosco always said, every stone, every ornament represents a grace from her. The basilica is ready, magnificent, exactly as in the dream. But Don Bosco's body begins to weaken. 72 years of incessant work, sleepless nights, days without eating, travels, constructions, young people. Always young people. December 1887. Collapse. He goes to bed exhausted. He knows it is the end. He summons the youth. Last advice. Voice weak but firm. Never forget these 3 things. Devotion to the Blessed Sacrament, devotion to Mary Help of Christians, and devotion to the Holy Father. Dawn of January 31st, 1888. Valdocco. First Salesian house in the world. Don Bosco breathes with difficulty. Around him, Salesians crying. He whispers, it was Our Lady who did everything. Last breath. Silence. The priest who saw the future has departed. He left 250 Salesian houses spread across the world. 130,000 children being educated. 18,000 apprentices trained per year. 6,000 priests ordained. Millions of lives transformed. And now, more than a century later, the dream of the orphan boy has become a worldwide reality. February 1st, 1888. Turin wakes up in mourning. The news spreads. Don Bosco has died. Thousands attend the funeral, rich and poor, Catholics and non-Catholics. Authorities and beggars all mourn the father of youth. Immediately popular demand arises: canonization. Testimonies are collected. Salesians, cooperators, former students speak. The miracles are countless, but opposing voices also emerge. Some remember conflicts with Bishop Gastaldi, disputes over hierarchy, discussions about methods, canonical processes. But no one denies the essential: millions of young people saved from misery and crime. June 2nd, 1929. Pope Pius XI, who knew Don Bosco personally, proclaims the beatification. 5 years later, April 1st, 1934. Easter Sunday. In St. Peter's Basilica, Pius XI canonizes John Bosco. He declares him a saint, a model for educators, father and teacher of youth. 1988, centenary of his death. Pope John Paul II reaffirms the solemn title, Don Bosco is the father and teacher of youth. And the legacy explodes. Today, more than 130 countries have a Salesian presence. The Salesian family has grown to 31 distinct groups and congregations. The Salesian Bulletin is published in 30 languages, reaching 135 countries. In Brazil alone, 110 units of the Salesian network of schools, 120 social works, and Brasilia, the capital prophesied in the dream, made Don Bosco its official patron. The Don Bosco Sanctuary, with magnificent blue stained glass windows, keeps a relic of the saint, a fragment of the bone of the right arm. The preventive system that he created, based on reason, religion, and amorevolezza, inspires educators worldwide. Don Bosco's body rests in the Basilica of Mary Help of Christians in Turin, the basilica that he saw in a dream, 19 years before building it. And you, which young people around you need not blows, but someone who believes in them. What can you do today that will change someone's life forever? January 31st, the date when the Church celebrates this giant of educational love worldwide. He who said, "It is enough that you are young for me to love you." He who promised God, "Until my last breath it will be for the young," and he fulfilled it. From an orphan boy who slept on straw to a saint who saved millions. From 9 years old dreaming of wolves and lambs to 72 years old seeing the dream multiplied in 153 fulfilled visions, 130 countries, millions of lives. All because a man believed that the impossible happens when we transform wolves into lambs, not with force but with love.